Yeah. Okay. Chris Saxon here at Virginia Free, interviewing Sarah Smith, who's running for the House of Delegates. In what district, Sarah? Number?
73.
73rd. And that's the
Yes,
district
that's
for Delegate Dr. John O'Bannon, currently occupied.
correct.
And tell us about yourself and why you're running for the House of Delegates. And please pan back to your children. This is adorable. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, so I'm here with my 4-year-old daughter. She's asleep in the car. I'm parked. Not driving.
That's a bad headline.
Yeah, I'm parked in my driveway. No, got to a safe stopping place first. Anyway, Sarah and Henrico with my husband and my 2 kids, and I am a hearing officer. I do Medicaid appeals for the state. I'm a state
Oh,
employee.
okay.
And I see people that are just really suffering every day because they don't have insurance, they don't have access to health care. And I decided to throw my hat in the ring and change things myself since I felt like our current representative was not representing us very well anymore. So that's why I'm running for office.
Okay, and pulled off your website here some of the top three issues: standing up for women's health, defending public education for all students, and fighting for a clean Virginia.
That's correct.
Has anything been added to that list?
Those are the top, issues for the most part. Really focusing on healthcare, education, the environment. Because the thing is, those issues kind of incorporate a lot of sub issues along with that.
Okay, and have you been involved in politics before?
This is the first time I've run for office.
Wow, well, good luck. Good luck. It's an exciting thing. Oh, there you go.
Thanks.
Now we're going to go in and out here. I just think it's fantastic. You're willing to do this interview with your child in the back seat. We can reschedule if you want at a
Oh no,
better
this is
time.
fine.
Okay,
Like
rock and
anything's
roll.
fine. Yeah.
No, I love your enthusiasm. I love your enthusiasm. Um, I think it underscores the reality of American life these days, and busy parents who still want to get involved and try to change what's in front of them and around them to the betterment of our society. So I tip my hat to you for
Thank you.
taking this on.
Yeah, it takes a lot of teamwork between my husband and myself. We've had to like really sit down and work out a routine and work out a schedule, with me running for office, but we just make sure there's still time for me to be with the kids every day. And then when I'm not with the kids, I'm out knocking doors or talking to people on the phone. So just trying to fit.
Well, tell us what's going on in your district. What are you hearing from people when you knock on the doors?
I'm hearing a lot of people that are echoing the same kind of concerns that I have. I'm hearing a lot of people that are even Republicans that are worried about the current state of healthcare and how unaffordable healthcare is becoming. So that's the biggest thing I hear. I also hear a lot of people concerned about gerrymandering, especially in my district, because in the 73rd and 72nd are very gerrymandered districts. So I hear a lot of people concerned about that as well. And then, of course, schools and education. My kids aren't old enough to be in school yet, but I've been trying to read what their concerns are, and they're concerned about just making sure that their kids still have a quality education, that their teachers are well supported and well paid so that they can keep teachers and keep class sizes small and keep education moving forward.
Okay. Um, what can be done at the state level to help control the cost of healthcare?
Well, the first thing is, I really believe, and I know this sounds maybe a little counterintuitive at first because I know that it costs money, but we need to expand Medicaid because there's federal dollars here that we could be getting that we're not getting. And if we don't give these people access to health care and get the federal dollars back that we could be using, we're going to end up with people going to the emergency room and running up bills when they don't have insurance. And ultimately, that ends up coming back on everyone because it continues to raise the cost of health care. So there are things that we could be doing to help people that as access healthcare.
Okay. What else in the healthcare field can be done aside? That's obviously a hot button issue in
Right.
Virginia right now. But what else can be done? It's become partisan, obviously. what can be done across party lines to bring down healthcare costs?
Well, I think one thing that we need to do is we need to focus our support. If we could support our existing infrastructure and help bolster that, for example, our community service boards and things like that, then I think that we could all get the act they need instead of ending up with people in a crisis and trying to access resources when they're already in a crisis. So if we could try to get people access to resources earlier and bolster what we have in place, I think that that would really help.
Okay. Education. Everyone's always for education. What specifically are you concerned about in education, and what are you suggesting as a policy initiative to improve K through 12, and then we'll get into higher education too.
Yeah, for K, the first thing is I know people always say we have to pay our teachers more, but we really do. I mean, ultimately, we're asking these people, we're putting our children's future in the hands of our teachers, and we need to respect that. And our teachers have to be paid well in order for it to be a competitive market in order to keep them. That being said, I also think that we need to work on our curriculum and we need to have a curriculum that, is not just teaching to a test. We have to have some kind of metrics, of course, to measure what we are teaching and make sure that, we're keeping up with accreditations and things like that. But that being said, I want our kids to continue to learn in writing and reading skills and not just memorization.
Okay, so are you looking to reform the SOLs, to update them, to modernize them, and they initially were implemented over 20 years ago, or
Yes,
about 20 years
absolutely.
ago. So is it time to revisit that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had the SOLs when I was in school. That was, and it's even worse now, I feel like, than it was then.
Really? Okay. K through 12 SOLs, teacher pay. How do we get to increasing teacher pay? I mean, everyone wants to do it, everyone tries to do it, but what's it going to take?
I think it's going to take a lot of work, and I think it's going to take, looking at the budget and figuring out what we can do. And that being said, I mean, I know that's hard, and I know it's also hard when we have other areas of the state where people are suffering, and we have other areas of where state employees are suffering. Like, for example, the Virginia State Police always has one of the worst retention rates in the last couple years. So it's just going to have to be a matter of figuring out how we can restructure things and make it work.
So you're ruling out a tax increase to pay for this? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you on that one. You there?
I said yes.
You are ruling that out.
Yes.
Okay. Transportation. What are transportation issues like in your district, and what do you think needs to be done to improve transportation throughout the state?
Um, you know, in the 73rd, we do have, for example, the roads are we don't have as much traffic as, for example, Northern Virginia, but it is a fast growing district. And within a matter of years, we could end up just like Northern Virginia as far as having major traffic issues. So I do think it's important that we keep looking forward on that. And another thing is, I'd like to see more commuter options in the district. I'd like to see the state as a whole pushing more towards, rail options and high-speed rail and expanding ways that you can get around the state without having to depend on cars.
Okay. Talking about since transportation is a sort of an offshoot of energy, where are you on energy issues, specifically the most hot issue in Virginia right now on energy, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? Where are you on that?
I actually have pledged to not take money from Dominion, Virginia Power, or Appalachian Power. So I believe that we need to focus on green energy. I believe that's also a way to create jobs. I mean, there's a burgeoning enterprise there where we could be creating jobs in the Commonwealth. And I think the Commonwealth, if it could lead on green energy solutions, then that would be an asset.
But the Atlantic Coast Pipeline is largely a federal issue where FERC is the
Yeah.
deciding agency on that. So are you sort of neutral on it because of that, or are you just opposed to it or supporting it, but hope they do it the most environmentally sensitive way?
I would lean towards supporting it in the most environmentally sensitive way. I mean, I recognize that it's a federal issue, so there's only so much we can do, on a state level. But I
Right.
think that we do need to protect our environment as much as possible. And we need to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to harm our kids' future.
Right. Um, Anything else in the energy sector that was a concern to you, top of mind, things you want to tackle? Um,
I mean, I just, one of the things, I have family from Southwest Virginia. That's where my mother's side of the family is from. So when I think about, coal and the jobs that have gone away related to that, and at least in the area that came actually a coal plant that went out of business back in, like the 70s. And I just think we have to find ways to create jobs in Southwest Virginia, across the state. And I think that green energy is maybe one of the ways that we could do that. Um, so that's just something I think about when I think about energy, because I know that a lot of people have lost their jobs in those kind of industries.
okay. Moving on to more blocking and tackling business issues. Where are you on raising the minimum wage?
Okay. It was
Yep.
on me.
Oh, and you're back.
I believe we do need to raise the minimum wage. I think that so that
Still here. There we go. There you're back.
minimum wage. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay. I believe we do need to raise the minimum wage. That being said, I don't want to hurt small businesses. So I believe that, maybe doing it in a progressive way, or, easing it in over time would be better than just suddenly doing it at one time.
Well, how would raising the minimum wage hurt small business?
Well, I think that, if all of a sudden it was just a shock, just, the next day, all of a sudden the wage just went up, that might be harder than just raising it over time.
Okay. Right to work. Where are you on the right to work?
I believe that, which, Virginia is a right to work state. I believe that we do need to support the protections that we have in place. I believe that, workers do need to be able to, speak out for their rights, and they have to be able to advocate for themselves. That being said, I also believe in market, and we have to be able to have businesses growing. And so as long as people can still, voice their opinions and speak out for themselves, that's the most important thing to me, and also protecting what's already in.
Okay. So, where would you consider yourself on the scale politically within the Democratic Party? How would you describe
What do you mean?
yourself? Well, I mean, I
Um,
mean, parties, uh, political parties always change. They always evolve from
Absolutely.
within.
Absolutely.
So where do you see it now, and where do you see yourself in it? I guess that's a better way of asking it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I don't see myself like at the farthest to the left, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I see myself, as a Democrat, and a proud Democrat. Um, that being said, I would not say that I'm, as far to the left as you can go.
Okay. So, would you consider yourself center, center left, moderate?
I would say
How would you
center.
describe Sarah Smith?
I would say that Sarah Smith is liberal, and that I don't know if I would necessarily assign progressive, but I would
Okay.
say liberal, and that I support a lot of progressive social issues, especially. Um, but I would say Democrat, liberal. I don't feel like any of those terms are a bad
No, no, I don't either.
or
I'm just trying
anything.
because everyone's out there going,
Yeah,
they always try to buttonhole people, and some people go, this is kind of where I am. But in today's, we live in this
yeah,
really crazy social media world where labels are attached to everything, and they can be
yeah.
very
I mean,
lasting
that's
and damaging.
hard to. Yeah, and for me, it's like, yeah, I'm a proud liberal, I'm a proud Democrat. It's like, well, people are like, that's a progressive idea. I'm like, okay, then I'm a proud progressive. That's fine.
Right. But some
Um,
people I've seen and this is just my reflection, being in politics for 20 some odd years now, is that people, were pushing the edges of their parties, and now they're starting to pull back a little bit. Are you seeing that too? Because there's been a
I
little, the public is
um,
saying, well, not that far.
I'm seeing, well, what I'm seeing is more of the traditional, like, big tent Democrat kind of thing, where the Democratic Party is a very welcoming party, and people, they're trying to get back to their roots and say, this is what we're about, because I think people have kind of lost touch with understanding what the party's about. So they're trying to just say, hey, this is what we believe in. We believe in, equality and making sure that people have access to every, that everyone should be treated the same and all these social issues and things like that. But I'm seeing new people joining the party, lots of new people. In Henrico alone, we've had probably 3 times our membership just since November in the committee, which is party is evolving the new membership, certainly.
Because I met with, if you win your primary and then the general, I met with who would be one of your colleagues local to the Richmond area, who said similar things about where the Democratic Party is and what he's seeing, and it sounds to me fairly broad in that sense. There was this big reaction to the Trump victory, and now things have sort of settled down, and um, I guess they're coalescing and trying to describe their values more than a reaction to President Trump. Is that fair?
Absolutely, that's fair because, well, and the first thing to remember is, this resistance movement that has popped up is not a monolith, right? I mean, there's people on different, you know, pieces or parts of the spectrum. So um, that's the first thing. The biggest thing I see is I see a lot of people who were maybe not super engaged the election, but now they've realized stay and also look for how to be involved. So all these grassroots movements have popped up, and I feel like the Henrico Committee, at least, is trying to do a really good job of, you know, getting those people to work with them and figuring out what ways they align and what kind of issues they share in common, and just saying, hey, bring your ideas. We want to hear your ideas. If you don't like something, come in and we're open to hearing what you want to say. So I think it's a very welcoming party and really trying to move forward and clearly define, what they want to do in the future and not just being anti-Trump. Being anti-Trump is, I mean, that's not, you know, that's not an ideology.
Okay. Um, the economy in Virginia has been negatively impacted by sequester. We're not growing as fast as we would like to, but the unemployment rate is down. Um, Tell us your thoughts on economic growth, economic development, and support for the business community.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is I think our governor's done a decent job of just to, and we got to keep doing that. I mean, we got to keep making this a place that businesses want to come. And one of the ways that we could do that is by not trying to pass these bills like the bathroom bill they tried to pass during the last legislative session. I mean, those kind of bills do not attract businesses; they push them away. So I think it's important that we recognize things like that. And that being said, we do still have, an unemployment rate of, around 3%. Um, and I want to keep seeing that go down. I don't want it to go up, certainly. I mean, there's still people out there that are looking for jobs that have been looking for a long time. So I think it's something we need to target and we need to help those people.
You mentioned the negative impact of certain legislation that comes up, and you mentioned the bathroom bill. What other bills, and I'm glad you bring that up because sometimes what happens in campaigns is people say, hey, let's put this bill in and we'll see what happens. And they know full well it's not going to pass, but just by the fact that it was entered in and debated, it can harm business just like a bathroom bill would. Is that something you see in politics as well? Something that we need to be very mindful of when we're going into legislative session?
And it's part of the question. I missed the part that was before, like a bathroom bill would, when
Okay,
you
so
started
you
cutting.
said that the bathroom bill can have negative, just having it debated
Right,
can have a negative
right,
consequence for business, like what has
right,
happened in North Carolina when they actually passed it.
right,
And there wasn't a robust conversation here in Virginia about that legislation, but it does,
right.
I guess, send up red flags to the business
Well,
community.
yeah,
Like,
I think it
are,
scares them away.
so are there
They're still gonna.
there are other pieces of legislation that can do it as well. Like when someone puts a bill in that's going to repeal right to work or raise taxes on business or do other things that could be damaging, directly damaging to business. Are you aware and as equally concerned about those kinds of issues?
I am. I mean, I'm concerned. I think anytime you put a bill in, or anytime you're a proponent of a bill, you have to look at the larger impact. Obviously the social issue is important, or whatever you're trying to achieve with that bill is important, and hopefully it is a worthy cause if you're, putting it in front of the General Assembly. I'd like to think that our legislators aren't just wasting our time, um, which I don't know is always true, unfortunately. But that being said,
Oh no, they waste a
um,
lot of time.
yeah. That being said, I think you have to look at the ripple effect of what anything is going to have. So I am concerned, about, anything that I would put forward that I would find out, or hopefully beforehand, that would cause a big problem elsewhere.
Well, that's important because it's one of those things in the business community. They know certain bills aren't going to pass, and yet they're put in, and it's sort of done for a political point back home, and it can harm the business community if we have a
Yeah.
some problem legislation. I'm just interested that you brought that up in that context of hurting business because
I mean,
there's
I'm going there to represent the people I'm going to represent. Said, I don't necessarily see the point in putting things through over and over again that I know would not even, possibly pass or be well received. I'm also going to fight the good fight, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go put a bunch of things in that just are going to end up causing problems but will never be passed.
right, right. I don't. Did we talk about higher education?
Get We went Kate and we kept moving.
We did. You're right. You're right. What can be done to help higher education become more affordable for Virginia students and families?
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I'm pretty open about my student loans. I owe more than my house, because I went to
Oh,
law school. Yeah. So I understand. I'll be paying a very long time. Um, and I think that, one of the first things is if we can make community college free, that's going to help. Um, if not, if we could just lower the cost, that would help.
okay.
And especially with the programs we have at community college and then transfer into another state school, um, that is helpful as well because then you cut down the cost
Right.
overall. Um, that being said, I think, also some of the apprenticeship programs that are in place, if we could get the community colleges to work with them, I think that would be helpful. I don't know how open they're going to be to doing that, but I think anything we can do to make sure people come out with skills that are marketable, and education point, right? The point is we're helping build a future. We're helping give these people marketable skills. They're going to help the economy and they're going to help everybody. We don't want people coming out just saddled with debt and not even able to do what they went to school to study.
Right. Right. Good thoughts all around, Sarah. I don't want to take up any more of your time from your precious child behind you, who's hopefully still napping. Is he still down? She's
Yep,
still down.
yep, she's still down.
Unbelievable. Score one for mom. Score two for mom. That's double thumbs up. I mean, that's outstanding. I will remember this interview for the rest of my life. I kid you not. That's just it's incredible what moms can do. Just take a couple quick seconds,
Thank
however much time
you.
you want to recap your candidacy and what you'd like to have happen.
Yeah, I just appreciate everybody that's out there watching. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The biggest thing is I'm trying to find out, what the people in my district are concerned about. That's one of the first questions I ask people when I go to their door, when I talk to them on the phone, because I can tell you all day what I think, and I'm willing to tell you that, but I also want to know what you're worried about. I do have a meet and greet / town hall coming up this Monday at the Glen Allen Library, and that is from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So if anybody wants to come to that, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
And again, thank you for watching. And if you're in the 73rd, I'd appreciate it if you come out and vote for me on the 29th of April.
29th of April. Whoa.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks
Firehouse
if I
primary.
yeah, yeah, it's coming.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, how do we get in contact with you? How can we get people to contact your campaign?
Yeah. So my website is www.sarahsmith.vote. That's
SarahSmith.vote.
.vote. Yep. And then the email is friendsofsarahsmith@gmail.com.
Friends of Sarah Smith at gmail.com. Now I have it because I emailed you, but I'm just spelling it out for everyone at home.
Yep. Yep.
sarahsmith.com. Now, here's how we do this. This is currently being broadcast live on our members only page. Given the tightness of the
Okay.
schedule, if you want this to be more publicly broadcast, we can do that. But that is up to
Okay.
you, the candidate. Okay?
Okay.
You just have to give me the high sign. If you want to watch this, I'll send you a copy. If you want to punch it up, I can send it out in any number of different formats up on
Okay.
Facebook Live, and you can share it wherever you want to.
Okay.
Okay? No charge.
Yeah. Great.
Because I just
Thank
love
you.
the fact that you did this with your kid in the back seat. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sarah, have a great day and best of luck in your campaign.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I am blown away, thrilled for you. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. You
Take
have a
care.
good afternoon.
You do the same.
Bye.